Hey, Kelsey and Jesse here with Dissimilar People. Today we will be talking about online dating apps. Follow us on Twitter, Jesse @_diagrams, or you can follow me at Kelsey June. That's with 3 E's. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our podcast. Thanks for listening.
So it sounds like, in my personal experience, we've had this conversation a little bit because I'm like intrinsically old school. So I just prefer to do things the old way. But, as we progress, especially in 2020, it's looking like we're just moving deeper and deeper into this dating app culture, which makes sense because we spend so much of our time online, yada, yada. I don't necessarily, keep myself in that realm, but I will say that's affected my life majorly. Like, it's way harder to meet people. But based on that, a ton of people are meeting each other online. So if you do have thoughts on that, because it's a little wild.
Yeah, I don't think... Okay. I definitely use them for like several years, and like you said, it's really hard to meet people in person, and so I definitely went that route to meet people, especially when I was a college student away from home. And then recently I, decided to delete them because I had woken up one night, or I woke up in the morning, and I had this message from a guy, and he's like, "I'm so sorry for what my friend said when she called you, blah, blah, blah." And I had no idea what he was talking about. I did not answer this call through this app because I did not get the notification. I was asleep. But it kind of made me step back and realize, not only, are we messaging these people on apps, but these apps allow us to FaceTime them and call them, and that just seems way too, in the bubble for me. There's kind of a process. I meet you, and then maybe I give you my Snapchat or whatever. I slowly give you my number. So the fact that a dating app allows you to call someone, it just rubbed me really weird. I don't like there's not a process. I don't know.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
It lets people in too close just by using the app. And then not to mention, the closeness. I don't know. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, it's definitely intrusive on your personal bubble. Allowing phone numbers is not super... not only is it not necessarily moral or ethical, whatever. I'm not sure what phone number they give out, because there are apps out there like Lyft and Uber that give a app specific number, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they basically allow you to call the driver or whatever on a different number, whatever. But also, I think it's just a different kind of human interaction, right? So let's just say, I'm at a bar, I meet a girl, and I'm having a conversation with her. It's usually 30 minutes in. If you have any social skills at all, you can tell okay, I can ask for a number. I can ask to go out to coffee, you know what I mean? Or another drink or whatever. It's usually pretty common. The issue is, I believe, with these dating apps, that they take all of that interaction out. So it's a much more robotic, automated interaction. and you don't really get to know people through that, at least in any meaningful way. But I don't blame people. It's also one of those things where it's like you just, meet them in a different way, right? So it's a different sort of interaction. I just don't really trust the process. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I have nothing against it because I know people who have met, people on dating apps. But like I said, and as you were just saying, it's very non-personal, I think.
I think robotic is like the most perfect word to describe it because, okay, so let's use Hinge. We match on Hinge, right? And, I can see a picture of this person and I can see a name and they might have their age, they might have their last name. But I don't know if the person that is behind this profile is actually the same person. Like, it's kind of a scam. And back to like what you said about, meeting someone for drinks or whatever. The communication on these apps, I don't think is genuine. I don't think you really get to see the best side of someone on a dating app. And then, in my experience, I've talked to these people for like several days or several weeks before we've seen each other in person. And it kind of sets up this expectation, right? Like, you just kind of paint this mental picture of what this person is or isn't, and then when you see them and it's different, it's kind of like it kind of ruins it. I don't know how else to explain it.
Yeah, I mean, I have lots of theories for that, mostly because I'm a guy and I know all of my guy friends who use dating apps, and I mean, there are reasons for it. Firstly, what you were saying about you don't get the best version of them. I don't think you get a real version of anyone online,
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
You get a mocked up version. It may not be so far from the truth,
For
right?
sure.
If I go like look at your Instagram, you'll be like hiking with Tito, you'll be doing your thing, right? And
Yeah.
that's like fair. Like that's a fair representation, but I'm still probably not getting the same version of Kelsey that I know in real life, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it's pretty similar, but it's not spot on. The issue is you do occasionally get charlatans who, I mean, that's really what people do online, right? Like there's a whole culture of multimillionaire 20-year-olds even who like they manipulate their image online. It's incredibly effective. It's incredibly good skill to have, I would say, in this day and age. It doesn't necessarily breed confidence in who those people are, though, right?
Yeah.
Then the second part I will say is that most of my guy friends, unnamed obviously, who use dating apps, are not a single one of them is looking for a relationship. Some of them have found relationships, but not a single one of them was looking for a relationship. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So intention is very important. There's a reason why we use, and this is not a direct correlation. I'm not trying to say people who use dating apps are criminals, but intention, or intent, I should say, is a major marker of guilt in, any court. You know what I mean? So even when it comes to murder, it's like, was it manslaughter? Was it first degree murder? Was it premeditated? Was it not? Right? Like there's a whole set of case law about this. So, I mean, that's a little deep, but I hope you understand what I'm saying. Like it's, yeah.
I definitely think that there is a huge miscommunication with intentions. And I think different apps definitely, kind of correlate with the different intentions, but different intentions kind of get mixed in with the other apps. You know what I mean?
No, I definitely know what you mean.
So, yeah, I think intentions definitely are hidden, and that's one of the scariest parts. there's kind of the question too of like, so you're planning to meet this person for the first time, right? What is the appropriate date? Do you go to dinner? Like, is that too extreme? Do you go for coffee or drinks or a movie or a drive? Like, if I haven't met you for the first time and you tell me that you want to go see a movie or go for a drive, done. Like, that's the line there. You're out of the picture.
Right.
Maybe that's like just like the cheap date option, but for me, that paints like different intentions almost.
We have tradition for a reason. And I know that we like to pretend like we're breaking tradition, but I would think very cautiously before breaking tradition. There's a reason why, you know, one drink in a public place, or preferably coffee, which is usually my go-to. It's like, hey, let's just go grab, a coffee, like whenever. That's usually the go-to because it's in a public place. It's appropriate. And as long as you're only having one drink or you're just getting coffee, it's like, it's very harmless. It's like, now we can go get to know each other. It is on, and this is where I'm very traditional. I'm very much like, men have to ask. And if that's overstepping bounds, then, women get to refuse. I love it when a woman asks me out, but it's not like that. It's like, I typically just believe in the old traditional way of doing things. It's because it makes it easier. And because most of the risk is actually on, the woman's part. Ultimately, it is, So, I mean, there's those things, but I can support 100%, hey, you want to drive out to Wasatch, to the Wasatch? I'll pick you up in Salt Lake. Let's go up in the mountains, baby. And it's like, no, I think I'm good.
That's so funny. I think that old traditions are like almost gone. Like you see them occasionally.
They're not. They'll come back.
But they're really, maybe it's the crowd that I have put myself in, but yeah, I think they're kind of at least hidden in my view right now. I always make sure, back to kind of the safety thing, I always make sure on the first time that I have my vehicle, because like, if I need to escape, I'm not going to escape with, if I need to escape, I'm going to escape in my own car. Like, I'm not going to have to do the call my mom thing or call an Uber. Like, no, I always drive the first time wherever, and I just meet them there.
Right, exactly. See, that's kind of one of those things. Going back to, the name of our podcast, Dissimilar People, and you'll hear this all the time. I don't have to worry about that. Never. I could literally care less, how things play out. We have Lyft and Uber pretty much everywhere in the world. I'm not concerned about what happened, right? Like, so I also feel like obviously there's a dichotomy on dating apps between men and women. And this is mostly like my concern. I don't really have a concern about either of my sisters because, one of my sisters has an awesome boyfriend who I'm sure, don't quote me on this, and I just won't say it. They're very close. So I'm sure that, they'll be together for a while. My other sister, very beautiful and very capable. So I'm sure that she'll be fine. And I don't think she uses dating apps, especially right now. But I'm very secure. And they're both older than me. So I don't feel like I have to protect them, if you know what I mean. But having sisters itself makes me, I grew up with women in the house who are near my age. So, I kind of understand that perspective just a little bit, not all the way. And it makes me concerned for them because I just don't have to worry about the same things. But there's a dichotomy there, again, between men and women. There just is.
Yeah.
So.
Kind of with that separation, there's Bumble. I don't know if you're familiar with.
Okay, so give me the rundown. These sounds like you've used a couple.
A couple, yeah.
And I can tell you about my experience with Tinder, which is the only one I've ever used. And I didn't use it for long, but I'll tell you why. But go ahead and give me the lowdown. Which ones have you used? How many exist? Because I don't know.
Oh, I should pull out my phone. Let's see. I've used Hinge. Actually, I deleted them. I used Hinge, I used Bumble, and I used Tinder. I think that's it. But Bumble kind of goes with like the separation you were talking about. In order to match, okay, so to match, you both have to swipe the right direction on each other or whatever. But then to have a conversation, the woman has to start the conversation, which, most men are like, oh, that's great. That's awesome. But I do not like starting the conversation. Most of the time I would just send like the hand emoji, and I would leave it up to them because, if they want to start it, they now have access to that. But I hated that idea of that. I think it should be, kind of an even playing field, so to say. So that one was kind of interesting. And then there's Hinge, which is similar to both Tinder and Bumble because on Hinge, you can swipe right, and as soon as you like that person, they can see that you've liked them. And so, they can either accept it or decline it, which is, I kind of like that idea better.
It's definitely better than the first one. The first one is literally saying the woman is giving her sexual approval to the man before you meet. That's literally what that is. I can tell you from a man's point of view, that's exactly the way I would think about it. And I don't think that's healthy. So I'm not saying like, anything would happen. I'm saying like, that's what men think. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, so if I'm in the grocery store, right?
Yeah.
And like, I'm getting my groceries, I'm checking out, and there's a girl in front of me or a couple girls in front of me. One of them like turns around, gives me a smile. You know what I mean? Like that's literally the definition of time to approach. But in a man's head, in like a woman's head, it's like, hey, let's get to know each other most of the time.
Yep.
Right? It's like, let's have a conversation so I can kind of suss you out. For a man, that's like, it's time to go. So, I don't think that's healthy. Yeah. It's a weird one. And then what was the other one? Sorry. The other one was more mutually appropriate. Like it was like you both like each other. No. You both like each other, and then you start chatting. Either one can start chatting. No, I was talking about the one where it's like the woman has to initiate.
Oh, yeah.
It is the one that I feel like is inappropriate.
Oh, for sure.
Like just psychologically as a man, I can tell you that's not how it separates the way that people think, I think. So.
And the kind of funny part about Hinge is, or Bumble, if you send a message, Bumble will give you like pointers on your conversation starter. Like, oh, maybe you should ask a question, or like send more, or that's not a very good conversation starter. Like funny little things like that. I've just accepted the fact that I'm not a conversation starter on that app. So yeah, so then there's Hinge, and then Tinder, which you are familiar with. And I think that Tinder has kind of been the platform that more so attracts different intentions, extreme intentions.
The fuck boys. Fuck boys and fuck girls, to be fair.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's a good place to just, I'll hop in on that. So I downloaded Tinder. I used it for maybe a week, but my definition of intimacy is very different, I think. So everyone was using, dating apps. It was like one of those things like, why aren't you using one? It's like, well, because I'm super self-focused and I don't really think about people all that often, to a fault sometimes. Admittedly, I was like, look, I'm not going to, or I started using one. I made an account. I did all this. I got a couple likes. I got a few, but I probably got swiped by like 5,000 times. And I can tell you why. And it's because my entire thing was very relationship focused, because that's just who I am. Like I'm not coming around for, this like short game attitude. I just don't really care. Um, but total weakness. That's not what dating apps are for, in my opinion. So there may be a dating app somewhere out there for me based on what you said, right?
Yeah.
About Tinder being kind of for the non-best interest of people out there, or the more intentional crowd. But it's like I just don't, that's just not who I am. Like I'm not gonna fucking swoop in and rock your world. It's like that's not who the fuck I've ever been. So you know what I mean? It's like I'm like my Tinder profile would literally be like, I'm reliable and I don't fucking try to like I'm not here to hurt anyone. I'm reliable and I have a big heart, but it may not show. Like it's like one of those things where like, I'm not trying to be a dickhead, but it's also like, you want to fuck on a first date? It's like, no, not really, not interested. Like I don't even trust you, right? who the fuck are you talking to? Which is
Yeah.
a very quote unquote like feminine thing. I'm not buying that shit, because I know some of the most intelligent people fucking in California for sure, and I think that counts for a lot. And they don't buy that shit either. They're the ones who designed a dating app to kind of pull your brain into a bunch and make it melt, which is weird. So I'm not buying the algorithm either. But
So, did you ever meet anyone on Tinder, or you just decided after you downloaded it to cut it out?
So I downloaded it. I kept it for a week and had a couple matches and then deleted it. Because I looked at other people's profiles and it was not what mine looked like. mine was like Match.com. Honestly, like my whole point with that last piece I was just going on about is like, I'm just bad at them. To be fair, like I'm really just bad at them. But I think it's because I don't have the same. I'm not. It's not made for me, right? Did that make sense? So like, yeah.
I think that brings up an interesting point, because with my profiles, I've kind of always done the same thing, like, looking for someone that travels, someone that's goal oriented. Like I've laid out the lines, but then the interesting part of that is like, for whatever reason, the people that I attract on these dating apps seem to be the complete opposite.
I don't know what to tell you. Figure that one out for yourself, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So Tinder for me, I mostly used it, before my 20s, and I met a lot of, we'll just say, interesting people. Like, I think most of them were probably great people and will probably do incredible things in their life, but they definitely didn't show me that side. I definitely saw the, like, this is what I want side and bad intentions. So I used it for quite a while, and then I eventually, for whatever reason, got my account like
What did you do?
I like can't access Tinder anymore. Like my account is banned.
Okay, this is taking a turn. What? What did you do to the poor men on Tinder?
Yeah, what did Kelsey do? Like she's really scary.
Hashtag me3 men unite, because Kelsey betrayed you. Were you like swiping right but not meeting up with them? Okay. Go ahead. Yeah.
It was really weird because like two things happened at once. Like I had sent kind of a sexual innuendo, and then someone that I had met. I didn't meet him on Tinder. We had reconnected on Tinder and, had been out a few times and stuff. In the same moment, I just so happened to upset him. And so I'm not sure if he reported me or if it was what I said on Tinder. They literally happened within the same 5 minutes. It was so weird.
There's probably an algorithm for inappropriate speech, but unless you tell me and everyone here who listens to this what you said, we'll never know.
Yeah,
What did you say?
We'll just leave it at. We'll never know.
All right. The one thing I will say is, if he did report you, he's a mug. Homie's a twat. I'm sorry, dude.
All you need to know about this person is I literally questioned them about something that they actually had on their Tinder profile, which if you're displaying it, you're kind of asking for questions, right? You put it out there. So yeah, he got upset about something that he had put out there, and he also blocked me on everything, including social media. So
this made it pretty clear. Yeah.
So I like to blame him and not what I said, but we'll just leave it at that.
Well, the internet is not a place for self-conscious people. I'm sure that we'll see that at some point soon in our own ways.
Yeah.
Whether it's through journalism for you or for podcasting, YouTube, whatever it may be for me. It's not a place for sensitive people. So I wouldn't put yeah.
I agree with that. I think I shared with you my most recent creepy Untamed dating story. Did I? Maybe.
Yes, this is where the let's go for a ride, Kelsey. Which first off, I want to know how it was said, because I just said it that one. I'm like, was it sexual, or was it a fucking an actual let's go for a drive? You know what I mean?
Okay, let's just start from the beginning. I think my Untamed description may have set inaccurate imagery. So I matched with this guy on Hinge, and I kind of was going for a different type at this point. I was looking for guys into nature and mountain biking and, people that just enjoy being outside. So he was my new venture into this new type. So we match, and
Kelsey's property management, I see. I'll have to start a company.
Oh, hell. We match, and he has no pictures of his face. All you can see is, pictures with sunglasses or pictures, of him from a distance. And so after we messaged for a while, we started talking on Snapchat, and I was like, okay, I need to see a picture of your face. That was one of the first things. And so he sent me a picture of his face, and I was like, oh, okay. You look pretty cute from this half section of your face that I can actually see. And so we talked for more than a week. And every time I Snapchatted him, not every time, but I, would record myself talking about whatever we were talking about, and I would send it to him. And I always hoped that he would respond that way to paint a better picture of who I was talking to. He never did that, which I wish I would have questioned that better. Someone that's not really willing to show themselves, that's kind of a little bit scary. So fast forward, and we eventually decide to go out. And it was a weekday. I, drove all the way into the city from the suburbs to meet this guy, and I got there probably 10 or 15 minutes early, and I walk up, to where we're going to meet, and the place is closed, and I'm like, oh crap. So I, sent him a message. I'm like, hey, the place is closed. Like, where should we meet? And he's like, well, I'm just getting in my lift right now, so how about we meet there and then we'll decide. And I was immediately like, okay, he's getting in a lift. Like, this guy has a car. Why is he getting in a lift? I was like freaking out. Weird. And so he shows up and gets out of the lift, and I look across the street. Not who I thought I was meeting exactly. There was this.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
How so? Just an entirely different person? Just a lesser version of the person that you saw in the photo.
Yeah, let's just leave it at that. A lesser version.
Oh yeah, this might be good for women listening too.
A lesser version.
This is a lesser version. All right.
That's like the nice way to put it. So there's like this moment where I was like, let's just forget it and run back to the car. And then I had this moment where I was like, okay, you've like spent, this amount of time communicating with this person. And if it was you would like the time of day, So I walk across the street and he gives me a hug. Like, the bubble is at level 6, clear out at the walls, far away.
For you, but you chose to meet him. I can't entirely blame him when you've been having, you know what I mean?
I don't support it.
All right. I'm not saying you're wrong, by the way. I'm saying that in his mind, he's probably like, yeah, this is my friend Kelsey. At the very least, like that was essentially his thought, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think in a different, had we communicated differently, that would have felt more comfortable. But in our communication, I didn't feel like we had reached that level of closeness. We'll put it that way.
I completely I'll say this. I think it takes a lot to go ahead and be like, yo, like, fuck the fuck off. Like, to put your hand up, like touch him on the chest and go like, no, not today, dude. Like, I'm just meeting you actually for the first time. So I think it takes a lot of strength, not even strength, but like almost stupid courage to do that, because you just don't know what someone else is capable of.
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying, but that's like, again,
an unnecessary thing that bothers me, kind of. Yeah. I definitely did not put my hand up and stop him. I think it was more like a, soft one-arm hug. The hug still happened.
It's very obvious when it happens. If you've had girlfriends at all, right, and dated a lot, it's very obvious when it happens. You're like, okay, this girl is not into me. It does happen.
He did not get that message though at all. So we walk back across the street. We decide we're going to somewhere else, and we're having conversation, and I'm at this point, like, as far as dating goes, I know what I want, and I have no problem just like being super straightforward. So I'm asking him questions about things that matter to me. I don't even really remember exactly what I had asked him, but the whole conversation was one-sided. The whole walk, I don't think bothered to ask me anything about myself, which was really weird. And after every question, he would answer and then do this weird giggle thing. Not to mention, like, this is awful, but his laugh was like similar to a donkey. Like hee-haw, like super loud.
All right, Kelsey. All right, Kelsey.
I'm not
I'm on
even
his
kidding
team
you.
now. What's this bullshit?
No, I am not even
Poor
kidding
guy.
you.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm kidding though. Yeah.
So he has
No, you
this
shouldn't.
super weird laugh, and he's not like bothering to ask me anything, which is kind of weird because when someone asks something, I think it's usually with the intentions that that's something that matters to them. So for you to not ask that question back, it's kind of like almost the loss of an opportunity, so to say. So anyways, we're walking down the street and I'm having this one-sided conversation and we finally get to the bar and we sit down in this U-shaped booth. And so I sat, at the end of the U, facing like the other side of the booth. And then he was like in the middle of the U facing me. So I was sideways and he was like straightforward.
So, were you guys expecting anyone else?
No, exactly.
I'm just,
So I have this huge purse. It's like a freaking briefcase. And, I put it between me and him on purpose. Like, don't get inside my bubble. We're here to like get to know each other.
Yeah.
He immediately just sits on my purse. Like, didn't even like push it over. He just sat on it. And then his knees were touching mine underneath the table. Like, it was so nasty. And, this like one-sided conversation kind of continues. And his funky little laugh. The worst part about the laugh is like, I couldn't tell if it was real or if it was like, to be funny.
A little overzealous. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an understatement. So we ordered drinks and we're just talking. And I asked him the question, what did I say? Something like, is your current job your dream job, or something like that? And his response was, it would be if I was making more money. And that immediately rubbed me so weird. Like,
yeah, because you have the exact contrast. Like, you are adjacent to that. You know what I mean? You take less money for your dream job.
exactly.
Sorry. Yeah.
I think that your career should be something that, challenges you, that you're passionate about, that you enjoy, something that brings out your best self, not something that, pays the bills. That's important, but not for it to be about that. So shortly after that question, the waiter came over to our table and, I do not drink drinks fast, but in this situation, I drank my drinks so fast. So the waiter,
you are. Hi, Kelsey. I'm sorry. Go.
So the waiter comes over and I immediately am like talking to him. This guy totally knew the whole time that our date was like not going good.
Yeah, you're not.
And so I was like, you guys aren't very busy tonight. Like, what's going on? Just anything to get me out of this. And then he asks if we wanted more. And I looked at this guy and I was like, do you want more? And I think he said something to the measure of like, do you? And I looked at him and I was like, I'm trying to leave.
Oh my goodness.
And Um, yeah, so the waiter pulls out, the little iPhone thing for him to pay. And I usually pay. Like, if the date goes good, I will at least offer. And I definitely let him pay this time. And we left. And I don't think it really hit him. Like, I wasn't interested. The walk back was like a little awkward. But I was like doing my best to stay at the opposite side of the sidewalk. Like, he was talking. I don't think it really hit him. And so then we were like back to where I had parked, and I'm like, okay, so are you just gonna get your Lyft ride from here? And he's like, well, unless you want to be nice and take me home. And I felt so guilty because
oh my God,
I had
Kelsey.
because I had made him pay, and I like never do that. And so I let this creepy guy in my car, and we're driving, and I have my news radio station playing in the car and talking about my job because I just love it. And it's kind of an awkward one-sided conversation. And he's like, just drive straight. I'll tell you when to turn left. And I'm like, okay. And so I had no idea like how far I was going. So I just kept driving. And then I realized the freeway is like right here. Like, we're out of the city. And so I was like freaking out. Like, what is this guy doing? Like, where is he trying to go? And so I kind of looked at him, and I was like, where are we going? Where was the turn? And so, he finally led me to the right place. But honestly, it was really terrifying. Like, it is scary how easy it is to get caught up in, one of those situations. Like, you have no idea.
Like
Literally.
catfish. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways,
well, I don't use them, right? So it's pretty difficult for me to get caught up in those situations, I would say. But
yeah, plus you're a man, so I feel like
it wouldn't happen to me. Plus, I wouldn't do that sort of thing.
Yeah. So, really interesting situation. I would love to know, why he chose to take a Lyft, because from me looking at it, it's like, he had intentions of like getting wasted that night, and he didn't, feel comfortable driving, which that's responsible, and I can respect that to a point. But on a first date, you don't usually show up with the intentions of getting wasted. And then, to like put it on me for his ride home. It was so weird. Haven't heard from the guy since, so he obviously got the picture when I dropped him off and didn't get out of the car and give him a hug or anything. But, when he asked me for a ride, I would love... I just don't get it. I don't know. Anyways.
No, that has to be a scary experience, right? Like, yeah, I'm not going to comment on it because I do think that's like, I mean, that's one of those things where that's where I get nervous for, the women that I love. And that would have really bugged me to hear that story in post haste. And I feel like also typically women keep those stories from the people that love them, because it is a totally like, it's not a call to action. What it is a reason to then want to watch their back. It's like, well, I'm still trying to live my life, right?
Yeah.
So I support your your deleting of whatever dating apps, and those experiences obviously lead into that. But I just don't trust people in general, which I think saves me a little bit of face. I feel like the world could use a little bit more of that. That's not to talk about myself. That's literally like, I don't trust strangers. Haven't for years. I trust people, but I don't trust them in my bubble, which is kind of what you were saying, right?
Yeah.
I just don't trust them in my bubble. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They don't get any power over my emotions or my physical being, period. They just don't. That's it.
I feel like I did really good with the bubble thing right up until the end. And then I just, after, I guess, an hour, I felt like I knew him a little better. But still, to like be in the car with someone and, they're supposed to be giving you directions. And then you realize, like, holy shit. Like, where am I going? Like, why did I put so much trust in this person? It was terrifying, like, for a minute. And I came home and I told my mom, like, this is what happened. Like, holy smokes. I felt like so awake. Like, I wasn't asleep before, but
no, you had adrenaline though, a little bit.
Yeah. And so, yeah, it's just terrifying. Like, I really put trust in the stranger. And, it should be said that if something happened, I probably could have like beat the shit out of this guy if I needed to. But still, that is not the situation I wanted to be in. So,
what was he like, 5 foot and 100 pounds?
You know how short I am. He was shorter than me.
Was he really?
Or he was. I mean, I didn't like exactly measure, but he appeared.
Very judgmental.
He appeared to be shorter than me. Like, I feel like I could see the top of his head. And he didn't really have a lot of muscle, so whatever. Hopefully somebody learns from my mistake, because that was the point of it. And also, my other point of that story was, when you go on a date, are you straightforward, or do you like go with the flow? Like, if they ask you out again and you're not interested, do you tell them, or do you go out again?
Yeah, I'm straightforward, but I'm rude. You already know, dude. Like, if you have some sort of opinion and you come to me with it, I'm probably gonna tell you what the fuck I think. I might soften it down for my friends. So like for you, I might just be like, look, I'm not saying I'm right, but this is my opinion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if I don't like you, yeah, no, go fuck yourself. I can't stand people though. It's like I can't if you don't supply it. Sorry, Kelsey, but just let me get this one through. If you don't supply any efficacy to my life, if you provide nothing to progress me as a person, I don't care. That's it. Goodbye. Like, let's not talk again. It's like, do you need closure? I don't care. Goodbye. Like, it's kind of rude. Like, but on the flip side, if at one point you did mean something to me, I'll give you closure, but I'll still be like, but this is why this is done, right? Because now this isn't providing anything. This is doing nothing. But anyways, I just want to get that through because I don't want to sound like a dickhead. I want to make that very clear. Like,
no, I think that is like not a dick move. I think that is the right move, and I think that's kind of one of the things that has maybe, I don't want to say gone wrong, but happens less is like people just aren't straightforward with their intentions, or if they're interested in the person or not. Like, me being straightforward with him was not to be rude. It was like, listen, I took the time to meet you, and you took the time to meet me, but I don't want to spend any more time doing this. Like, I was being respectful of his time. So anyways,
But that's okay to say. I feel like it's harder for people to say. It's worse. It's much worse when you have a genuine connection, right? If
Yeah,
I
it
if
is
I
worse.
if I just meet you on a dating app and I go out with you for a couple drinks, blah 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 blah, don't necessarily go through that whole thing, but let's just say, we walk out in front of the bar, both take our lifts, Ubers home, and that's it, and I don't hear from you again.
Okay.
It comes with maturity to just be like, oh, she wasn't into me. Cool. Like there's a ton of fish in the sea. Like I'm not that concerned about it. But I don't know the exact thing about that, but I know when a woman knows a lot about me and then they just ghost all of a sudden, like when we're actually like, when we're intimate and
Yeah.
then they just ghost, that's yeah. Then that woman can go fuck herself forever and burn in hell. As the same for any man, right?
Yes.
If you're
Yes.
intimate and they know a bunch about you and then they just ghost you, it's like, this is first off, don't go burn in hell because you're gonna burn all of your relationships if you actually act that way. Because that's
Yeah.
that's that's literally the most poisonous thing you can do, right? But like you literally there's no interpersonal skills there. Like you have to understand sometimes you need to be able to say, look, I don't like this person anymore. Ghosting them, running away from the issue is not the right way to solve this. Actually, the right way to solve this is to let them know why you don't like them. And it sounds like, oh my God, that sounds so cruel. It's like, no, closure is so important for people that you care about. Like, that's actually how not just we establish relationships, we reestablish important relationships. Like, yeah, but I don't want a world full of hate. I just don't believe in running away. So,
Yeah, I fully agree. But I think, you know, depending on the first date and the second date, like, I always feel that closure is necessary and communication. Like, I'm an adult, and if I'm going out with you, you're an adult or whoever. So to not be able to communicate that, like, why are you even dating if you just cannot even communicate with people? I hate the unknown. I absolutely hate it.
it's a red flag. I think we can agree on that. It's just a red flag.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, right? It's like my parents taught me. I mean, I've done a lot of dumb things in my life between the age of 15 and 20. Um, but they taught me the entire time from like fucking 11 till 20. They told me transparency is key. It's like once the trust goes from the relationship, that's the relationship. It's done. You can betray, you can commit murder, literally. But if you lie, that's when the relationship's done, right? You just can't lie. Like it just doesn't work. And I lied a bunch, and fortunately, they were unconditional, but or their love was unconditional. But eventually, like I regained that trust, and now my job for the rest of my life is to not break it. So like 7 years of damage. It's like one of those things where it's like now I get to take the degradation of trust with my family that happened over the course of 7 years, and then only build it up for the rest of my life. And so it's very important. It's important to me, but for very sincere reasons. Sometimes I don't think people realize like how much the smallest lie really does matter. It's not even always about like a white lie save someone's feelings. The issue with the white lie is not that you don't get caught or it's just a small lie. The issue is that a small lie turns into a bigger lie. It's just the way it goes. Like, and there's no way around it really. I wish there was, but I'm also happy that there isn't because it keeps structure, to the universe. So we don't have to worry about that. But anyways, yeah. No, I'm very opinionated on lies for the same reason that, when people say things about me, Kelsey, I get irked because I may be wrong about things, but I don't lie. I'm not disingenuous about the things I say. I mean everything I say. You can call me an idiot. You can call me whatever you want, but you can't call me a liar. That's the one thing. So
I really like what you said about transparency is key.
Thank my parents. That's what they say.
I think that is awesome, and I think that's true. I think some of the biggest issues in my past situations, I like to call them situations.
Fair
It
enough.
seems more fitting, you know? It obviously wasn't a relationship if there wasn't trust and there was lying. So we're going with situations. I think lying, yeah, is obviously a huge problem. And like you said, I think one life definitely leads to another. Like once you've broke that sort of ice, it's just like the water keeps coming. I don't even, yeah.
You can't escape it. No. That's part of the problem, right? You just keep sliding down. You can always save it, but it's just the issue is that trust is integral. Once you break it, it's too hard to prove your innocence, right? So, yeah.
That also kind of creates the question of like, why are you investing time in someone that you can't communicate honestly with? Like, that's always been a huge question of mine. Like, if your intentions are different and you're not interested, why go to the point of lying? Just be straightforward.
I just think it's I honestly I do not believe because I know people who have been divorced, not of my age, but our parents' age, right? And typically, and I know people say, "Oh, well, you get divorced once, you're going to do it again." It's like no, no, no. I know a ton of people who are married the second time who then realize, you know what I mean? They got cheated on, or whatever the debt wasn't really like whatever it is, like they got lied to, and then they got remarried, and the second time they got it right because the second time they got married, they're like, okay, trust is important because you just don't necessarily realize that. Like lie to your friends all the time, blah blah blah. People do. It's like unless you learn that lesson at an early age, you just don't understand how important it is. So like I might lie, right? Like I'll still lie, but the second I realize I lied, I come back and I tell the truth and I apologize, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the important thing, right? It's catching yourself and realizing what you've done, right? Because we're all put in sticky situations, right?
For
So like,
sure.
even if I'm with you, and it's you, me, and whoever person, right? And we're having a conversation, the three of us, and then you ask me a question and you put me in a difficult situation. Like I might lie just because I don't need certain pieces of information out there. But then I might come to you later and go like, look, I lied, but this is why. Like this is like I literally am not comfortable having this, you know what I mean, out there. So I guess I'm kind of going back on it, but it's like it is a very specific thing for me. Is like honesty honesty is very specific to relationships and maintaining trust. I just don't like, yeah.
In my perspective, trust is earned, not given. Would you agree?
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
So, yeah, I have a really hard time trusting people once they've, destroyed that bridge.
I think there's another side to this, which is actually pretty important to go ahead and try to take into account. It's like I've been in enough shallow relationships, not shallow relationships in the typical sense, but short relationships, right? So like third date, whatever, right? And then shared too much of myself, right? Where it's like, these are the things I've done. This is how I'm changing. This is, who I am ultimately, right? So first date, here's the shell, a little bit of who I am. Second date, here's a little bit more of who I am. Third date, here's that perception you have of me, which isn't a lie, but it's, what we put out, in those first few days. and then here's a little bit more under the surface. And the issue is like, you know what, you go through enough. Like I think it scares people away, which ultimately is why I have to hold things back, right?
Yeah. I definitely used to do something similar where I kind of painted the picture of who I am and what I've been through, you know. This is my story. But you know, then I kind of started realizing like painting that picture, I felt like I was, you know, kind of defining myself as like this broken person. And when I kind of took a step back, I realized, you know, the people that are going to stick around are not going to care about what's happened in the past and, you know, what kind of broken I am or I'm not. So I don't even paint that picture anymore. Like,
I wouldn't call it a picture though.
what would you call it?
I think that's not yeah, I don't think that's right. I would say that I can act the way I am. Like like however you act just in front of a normal crowd. The people are like, you're not lying about who you are. You're not painting a picture necessarily, but you do have a bit of a shell up, right? I've had a ton of experiences where unfortunately transparency throws away relationships. And it's not because, you know, things are so wrong. It's just because unless people are invested in you because they trust in you as a person, then the relationship just can't stand. Because people like I understand it. But it's unfortunate. Like sometimes it's unfortunate because I mean, like I'm sure that you can agree. Anything that's happened in your life, you didn't necessarily ask for, right? Things just kind of happen. Like you do your best, and things just happen. Like you don't necessarily ask for them, and so it's not always like this crazy like I don't know. My point is that it gets to a point where it's not necessarily a lie, but withholding the truth sometimes is like just what you have to do, especially if you have a sincerely dark past, you know, where, yeah. My whole point is my commentary earlier is like, I don't lie about things, but I do withhold them. I mean, how long have you known me? How much have we talked? And I still won't tell you anything about my past. Like, and it's like nothing meaningful. It's like, because I have been burned so many times, that's not worth. I just don't trust people to not run.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So once again, it's a total intimacy thing, right?
Yeah, for sure.
On a lower level, but it's still like a intimacy thing. It's like, dude, I just won't let people know what I've been through because fucking I don't trust people not to run. It's not because I'm embarrassed. I'm incredibly proud of what I've been through and what I've survived, but it's like I don't trust people not to run. It's plain and simple. So but that's where yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Sorry. I think withholding is the perfect way to put it. And you know, I think there's a certain level of trust or, you know, there's a time and place for that type of information. And if that person lasts long enough to, you know, be informed of that, that's great. But yeah, I have my stories that I do not share, you know, on the third date anymore because I don't need to be defined by it. And it's not going to matter, like, if they stick around long enough. So screw them. I don't know.
Screw you people. A bunch of waste people. No, I get and I'm 100% with you. I feel exactly the same way. Let's go ahead and end the stream there. I think it's awesome. Thanks, Kels, so much. And obviously stay in the studio, but yeah, I'm gonna shut the stream down and all that. So Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dissimilar People's Podcast. Make sure to go ahead and like and subscribe on whatever medium you do. Choose to go ahead and be listening to us on. Check out my socials at _diagrams on Twitter and Kelsey's at Kelsey Earl. That is with 3 E's, as she told you at the beginning of the video. All right. I hope you guys all have a wonderful week and weekend. All right. Bye-bye.